What's up, everybody? James here with Modal Electronics, and welcome to a special live stream, the Chat and Play Session. And this one's all about progressive house plucks, which are near and dear to my heart because that's kind of when I started producing music. It was the heyday of progressive house, or maybe we were approaching the heyday. There were two in particular. There were two artists that really made a big influence and also made quite a name for themselves and had a rapid rise to fame in those years. And we're talking like 2006, 2007. And that was Deadmau5 and Eric Prydz. So this whole show is at least the academic portion of this show is going to be centered around making plucks that sound a lot like them, and why. And I'm going to be explaining to you why they also make an incredibly good foundation for sound design and whatnot. But in addition to that, we actually have quite a neat show. There's some other stuff going on that I'd like to tell you about here. We have a special guest with us who I'm going to introduce shortly here. Let me just bring up some of the info. I believe I hope I don't screw his name up. Eli Engelbert. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one when I talk to you, but Eli Engelbert, pardon me. Absolutely gifted young lad, 19 years old, and has a cobalt and an argon, and you got to see this thing, the stuff he's doing with this, with those two. Really cool. So we got a special video to show you, and we're going to be interviewing him somewhere in the middle of the show. Also, we'll be debuting the special Modal Electronics guest sound designed patch bank from Sound Salsa. It's a full patch bank. It is free, and at the end of the show, we're going to be running a lot of the preview of that, and so definitely stick around for that. And also, we're going to be doing a giveaway today. Today's giveaway is a 1-year unlimited library access kind of subscription to ask.video. It's $144 value, and it is it's an awesome place. It's an online education community for creative computer users. Their courses focus on artistic skills, making music, recording, mixing, mastering, sound design, synthesis, theory, video editing, graphic design, game development, photography, web and computer programming, and the whole place is created by artists, and it's meant for artists, obviously. And overall, they're dedicated to helping you realize your potential and your dreams by learning new and inspiring skills. So stick around for the stream, and your name could be selected for the drawing. So that's the that's the show in front of us. And as you heard from the beginning, that's an example of the kind of pluck we'll be making. You'd be surprised how easy it is to make. But let me quick explain a bit more about why plucks are such a good foundation. It is because once you know how to make a pluck, especially learning how an envelope, like the intricacies of an envelope, when you know what to do and when, that means you're familiar with how an envelope works, and that right there is such a very transferable skill to making other presets such as bass, keys, brass. I mean, I'm going to show you at the end how one pluck preset can turn into like 3 or 4 different ones. And I got a whole production lined up with a couple different examples, but we're going to start simple now. I'm going to jump over to this camera right here, direct feed from the app. Right now I'm going to be playing on this Cobalt 8X, as you can see. I've got a list of presets there. Let's jump into the modulation tab. And as you can hear right now, it's a little quiet. Let's get that boosted up, shall we? There we go. Okay, over here is the shape you're going to want to have. Basically, it looks a lot like a sawtooth, actually, or a shark fin. A pluck is comprised of 0 attack and very low sustain often. It doesn't have to be 0. And the decay and the release is the relationship between these two is the big point that I'm going to be driving home. So you have to pardon me ahead of time if I'm repetitive about things. But we start off by playing something on the overhead cam here. Now wrong cam. There we go. I'm triggering it from an Argon 8X. I didn't get around to actually switching these two, but we're on this one up here. At least I got it in camera view this time. All right. Let's go from init patch, just so there's from dead init patch, right? From zero, ground zero. So that way, if you're following along, you can do exactly as I do, and this really is not that hard. We're going to change oscillator 1 over to a saw. I'm going to get that width down to 0 because it's kind of annoying hearing it shoot left and right through my earphones. Then we're going to say goodbye to the sound for a second. And turn the cutoff all the way down. Crank that depth all the way back up. Hello, sound again. Crank the sustain all the way down again, and we barely got anything. So what's left with 0 attack and 0 sustain? We got some decay to work with and release to work with. And you're not even watching the app. I promised myself I wouldn't let that happen. Okay, well, let's backtrack like 30 seconds. Basically, I changed this to a sawtooth, and I adjusted the envelope. So I turned down the cutoff and then made this adjustment on the envelope. And then I'm going to show you the overhead. And make a nice long release. So if you were to open up the cutoff, you got some notes getting held, or some notes trailing off, rather, with a nice long tail. Okay. Now, we'll bring that cutoff down. I want to show you something on the overhead cam. I'm going to be playing plucks like this. I'm going to be doing this, or maybe a little bit up higher. I'm going to be slapping them like this. All right, so just keep that in mind. Decay isn't going to make much of a difference, and this is the kind of the beginning of the point I'm elaborating on, is the difference between release and decay. If I'm slapping it, decay is really not going to make much of a difference unless you got it way down here. The determining factor, as soon as you let go of the keys, is the release. And inversely, if I'm pressing something like this, or holding it down, really firm presses, right? Everything is dependent on decay. Release doesn't make a damn bit of difference, because it's already going through its full timing of the decay, and it goes back to 0. So for those of you unfamiliar, this envelope, this depth right here, it's basically telling the filter, because this is the filter envelope generator, it's telling the filter how long to open for and how fast to close. Attack, obviously, is how long it's going to open, how long it'll take to open. So this is a lot like a gate or a garage door, if you want to think of it like that. That's basically what you're hearing and seeing. Since plucks don't have any attack, we keep that at 0. If you hold down the note and just keep your hands held there, you're not going to hear anything, right? Well, depending on what you're doing, there are some plucks or some instances where you might want to have some left over. So you get your sustain adjusted till you start hearing that hum. So it still has the nice muffled effect, but it doesn't completely kill the notes. That can be particularly beneficial if you want to keep the tail, audible. All right, so that shape is, as you can see, they're pretty close. 48, 47, pretty decent shape right there. The one thing I do with plucks is I just try to keep these somewhat even, unless I'm going for something specifically stylized that has, how do I describe that? Unless I'm programming something very specific with long notes and short notes, and I want to hear that difference, let me drastically change them and give you an example. Overhead shot's going to be better on this one. Even shorter decay. Let's try this. There we go. Okay. It's the best example I could give you. Unless I'm doing something like that, I actually just keep these as close together, as similar as possible. The reason being is that it'll be a lot easier for you to write a part, to compose a part, a sequence, or whether it be in your DAW or on the Cobalt 8 itself or an Argon 8. It's all going to be dependent on what you program. So if you have long notes, obviously you're going to be dealing with just decay. In this instance, if we were using the sequencer and we went to, let's see, which example has this? Oh, that'll probably do okay. Let's try this one. Since all the notes are pretty much one after the other, right? There's no space in between them. The only thing we're going to be adjusting is decay. And I want you to take some observations here on what everything is doing as I'm moving around, because basically having something playing in the background is a really helpful thing to get you more familiar with all the behaviors of the envelope, of the filter, and it'll allow you to shape your pluck exactly how you want it. So I guess what I'm getting at is come up with a riff ahead of time. Come up with something you like ahead of time, and then perfect your pluck. Don't worry about getting the pluck perfect before you have a riff, because your riff might make all the difference. You might end up with a sequence on the Cobalt instead of programming something in your DAW. There must be some automation at the end there. Looks like it. Yeah, sure enough. For those of you who don't know much about the spread function, there's a modal minute on that. Definitely go check it out. Spread and width, two different things, even though they sound slightly similar. Okay, the two the two algorithms I like to use on the Cobalt in particular are, for plucks rather, are VA sweep and spread saw. They can sound similar depending on what you have configured, but these two are the most effective for plucks. The reason being is that plucks are, generally speaking, based on sawtooth. This weight, for example, versus the spread, this weight is like a mix knob between the super saw, which would increase detune with the spread. It's a mix between that and the original single oscillator. So, we're going to get a little bit advanced here before we go bug our guest and start asking him a million questions. I'm going to show you a couple of modulation tricks you can do. And it all revolves around either a mod wheel or an expression pedal. I have an expression pedal, and this time I'm going to use it. I initially thought, hey, I should just show visually what I'm doing with the mod wheel, but I'm sure you'll be able to hear it just as well, and I like going no hands. Oh, reaching it is a pain in the ass, though. Okay. So, expression pedal is going to be EXPR right there. And if you don't have an expression pedal, don't worry, just picture this as Y+. This is your mod wheel right here. So just, swap this for that if you don't have an expression pedal. But it's going to be the same overall function. A couple of things you'd want to consider having modulation on. And before I go any further, actually, let me explain why you'd have modulation to begin with. Generally speaking, to create intensity when you have something that's based on a pluck, you increase the cutoff, or you open up the filter rather, and it builds intensity, and then dies back down, and that starts a new section. It's going to be much more effectively demonstrated once I'm inside Logic here, giving you some better examples. But so, generally speaking, I like to put modulations that do a bunch of different things that build the intensity. So on this expression pedal modulation, I'm going to put oscillator 1A, so that way it's going to start mixing in the supersaw. Do I have it plugged in? Oh, yikes. Double check here. Oh yeah, I do. Okay, good. Let's also assign that to oscillator 1B. Oopsies. So as I increase the expression pedal, not only will it start mixing this in, but it'll start detuning it even more to a sweet spot. Now, I don't know if you noticed this, but when I detune this, when I'm increasing the spread through this modulation, the volume dips down ever so slightly. So something that you can do to counter that, so you don't lose any of the lose any of the punch, any of the volume, is keep your depth down here for your amplitude envelope or your amp envelope, and have that same thing boost up the amp envelope. Or you could have it boosting up sustain and keep your sustain down low. It's really up to you, but in this example, I'm just going to do it this way. And you can play with the levels just to try and get a good balance between, you have to figure out how much intensity or dynamic range you're going to want. And then, of course, we're going to want the cutoff to open up, right? I think my expression pedal has needs some adjustment. Yeah, sure enough, there it was. There we go. And lastly, you can add an effect to have some taper off or some trail off, some after effects, I'd call it. So get some ping pong delay, right? Bring your time down to the point where it begins, it goes into the syncable numbers. Well, that ended abruptly. That's because we have zero feedback. So let's crank that feedback up. And there you have it. You got something that's very stylish. Can increase intensity, and then it's got a nice taper off, so it doesn't sound quite as bipolar or drastic when you're opening up and then just suddenly closing it again to start a new section. Okie doke. Well, I think it's about time we let's go say hello to Eli here. Hit pause on this. There we go. It's got a nice drop so it doesn't sound
boom.
Oh, don't forget to turn down your stream there. We'll have the most epic infinite feedback loop.
Oh, for real. Yeah, I got that muted. We're good. What's up, man? How you doing?
Oh, it's good to see you, man. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Okay, I gotta give everybody this just some background on this guy. Eli and his two twin sisters. I didn't realize they were twins. Oh my God. Oops. They are the first to win a. Am I correct here? First to win a daytime Emmy.
Nominated, didn't win.
Oh, nominated. First to be nominated for a daytime Emmy for a musical number. Basically, Eli and his two sisters are phenomenally talented singers and musicians. And rather than have them all on and sing, I just wanted Eli because I'm a synth nerd and I'm selfish, and I just wanted him all to myself. And he's got a cobalt and argon, so I mean,
of course.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. But yeah, I should probably stick to my questions. I'm already freezing up because I'm so nervous.
Oh, you're good, man. It's gonna be fun.
Yes, indeed. Okay,
How's the mic
so
sound, by the way? Is it all cool?
oh, you sound great. Yes,
Okay, cool, cool.
that's a absolutely gorgeous studio, by the way. I'm incredibly
Oh,
jealous compared to this broom closet I'm in.
a little bit scattered right now, but usually it's very neat.
Now, when you were younger, was that a man cave with when that you were not allowed in when you were like a wee one?
Well, I actually just moved here a year ago, so this has always been my space.
No, this
But
is that's all you. Okay,
yeah, this is all.
for those of you who don't know, his dad's a very talented video producer who does he help with the videos or do you do some of the videoing video
I do
editing?
all the editing, but he does all the film work and camera
Okay,
work.
so he's more of a photographer type guy.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, so that's why I had that confused. I was wondering if he was where he was. They have multiple, locations and whatnot. But
yeah, yeah.
well, that's a kick. That's just an amazing setup. Do you play anything other than the synthesizers? It looks like it.
Oh yeah, so I also play drums. I play guitar. Well, I started playing piano a little bit when I started learning like electronic music, but I'm not like really that good at piano. But I can do a little bit of everything except for woodwinds and brass. Skip those.
So you skipped out on the piano lessons like I did then.
Yes, I don't like any of that. Terrible.
That tends to happen when people have natural ears for music. They don't want to read or do the academic stuff.
There
They
you
just
go.
want to make music. Well, when did you run into the Argon 8? Obviously, that's the first modal synth you picked up.
Yeah, so I sort of learned about modal maybe a year ago, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. And at the time, I like wasn't looking to really buy a new synth. And then I was like, recently, I was looking at stuff again. I'm like, damn, these modal products, like they got what it takes. I mean, they might be digital, but they pack the punch and they have their own like iconic sound to them. And like, I had to get in on that.
Yeah, totally, man. I know what you mean. And yeah, I'm of the same mentality. It's funny how they're like you said that, they might be digital, but hey, like it's weird how much people have this idea drilled into their head that digital is somehow like lesser than analog, even though it's infinitely more capable. But I myself am guilty. I've been on Gear Sluts and posted a rant or two over the years, so you might as well consider me one of the dinosaurs. But if there was somebody to convince me that digital had a bright, amazing future, it's modal. Despite back in the day, what was it, the 80s and the 90s when we saw, the first digital synths that were supposed to be.
You have Roland D50. That one's a classic.
Oh, the D50. Yeah, I'm always going to like the D50, but
oh yeah,
if you try playing a very luscious Pluck on the JD800, you're in for a rude awakening.
Yes, for sure.
And I had one. I bought one for $500.
Oh, amazing.
LA Craigslist. Never underestimate LA Craigslist. That was years ago. I feel old now. I'm going to change the subject.
Goodwill. That's where I'm getting all my good stuff recently. You can find some crazy deals on Goodwill.
Good. Really? Goodwill has synthesizers.
Yeah, exactly. Because no one else looks for synthesizers there. So like you'll never get in any bid wars because no one's going to go. Well, now I just gave away my secret. I just messed myself up.
Yeah, you better go snatch up whatever you've been eyeballing.
I lied. Goodwill has bad deals.
They don't have any Junos. None. There's always a new Juno on Synth Freaks that's like, hey, I picked this up it might have been a Goodwill, but
like sit in my dumpster for 2 weeks. You can have it.
Okay, so let's take a break here. Let's show you the clip of your video here. I forgot to show it, and maybe it's better we do it this way anyways, like a sort of like a guest on the show and whatnot. Can you want to give us a briefing of what this was? Give us like a quick overview, what we're about to see.
So on the first day I received my Argon, I was just going through all the presets, tweaking them the way I liked, and then this whole song, every sound except for the drums was made completely on the Argon, and it's about a minute long because I wanted it for Instagram and other social media. So it's just a fun little track, and it's got a cool video too. And
by the way, for those of you who are wondering about his YouTube and social media presence, he has how many views did you get on that video that you had mentioned to me?
Oh, just in general, or
like just in general. What's the average view count?
I think like overall our entire views, I think we have 140 million on Facebook. Something dumb.
That's our goal. That's our 10-year goal for Modal for total views.
Now we need 140 million views for Modal, then we're solid.
I would love for you to bring us more views. All right, let's.
Got you.
That's awesome. Let's. I'm gonna queue up the video and then we'll go from there. Here. Let's see. That's the one. All right, queuing it up. So there we go. And got a nice drop so it doesn't sound.
Boom.
Oh, don't forget to turn down your stream there. Hey, mute yourself there, bud.
Oh, my bad.
Boom. That was epic. Oh, that sounds awesome.
Bam.
All right. Oh, turn your mic back up. You're good.
We're good. We're good.
Yep. Awesome.
right.
Dude, that was amazing. Was that something, was that one of the presets, or did you design that, or tell us more?
So what I did sort of, because I was sort of new to the synth, so I took a lot of the bass factory presets and I tweaked them to sort of fit the vibe I was going for.
Right
Mostly
on.
by just adding a crap ton of distortion. That always works. But
Yeah.
play all that good stuff.
Right on, man. Well, you know what? I want to know what's been a big influence on you. What made you gravitate towards like electronic music in general?
Yeah, so let's see. I started making electronic music probably back in 2014, like summer 2014. I was 13, and I started listening to artists like Skrillex and Zomboy, Virtual Riot, like those, like all the dubstep guys back then. That sort of inspired me because I was like,
Me
they make
too.
these crazy monster sounds. I'm like, I gotta learn how that's made. Gotta do it.
Excellent. Yeah. You know what is? I have to admit, progressive house Plucks might be a good foundation, but the new frontier of sound design appears to be rediscovered in the form of FM and all the wavetable stuff that Skrillex kind of brought back to the spotlight. Would you agree?
Oh, 100%. My first synth I actually got was Native Instruments FM8. So it's like,
You made the right choice.
yeah, pretty bad synth to start with, honestly, because it's so difficult to navigate, especially when you have no idea of what you're doing.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
when I learned how to master that, every other synth was pretty easy. So not bad.
That's impressive. I bought Massive and pirated FM8 and wish I had done it the other way around. And since I never used Massive, I didn't consider it piracy.
Yeah.
Which they're both legit registered copies, by the way, Native Instruments. So
Of
no
course.
worries. Yeah, no worries there. Okay, so let me ask you. The teleprompter's not working. What am I gonna do?
Oh no.
I'm just kidding. So you started at a young age.
Yes.
What do you do when you want like new software, a new synthesizer, and when you're living with your folks in your teen years? I mean,
Oh yes. Oh, you mean like how did I?
how do you have to go like, Dad? There's this really kick butt new synth. Come buy it for me, or is it just like track down a demo, show him what you can do, and then was he supportive? I guess that's what I'm asking.
Oh, very supportive. It's sort of a mix of like, would it be worthwhile to get this for the business also? Because I've been doing professional music throughout my whole childhood, so it's like, would this be useful in like a performance sense, or like would this be useful like for our albums coming up? But otherwise, like, I mean, occasionally there's some plugins where it's like, hey, could I have this? And he's always been very supportive. So like, I have a good collection of software to play with. But yeah.
Awesome. Well, what's in your future? I mean, I see just massive potential, and you obviously have a bright future in front of you.
Thanks, man.
What are some of your future plans for you and as well as your sisters? Is it all one collective vision, or are you planning on doing electronic music kind of alongside, parallel, or what?
Yeah, so it's interesting because Ariel and Zoe both write like completely different genres of music, but I also produce for them. So like Ariel, for example, is writing a whole sea shanty album, and I've been helping mixing and produce that.
Like
so,
SpongeBob sea shanties?
Yeah, like songs that pirates would sing on the boat when they're lonely and sad.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I think there's like 6 songs, and they're pretty awesome songs. I'll be released before too long. And then this summer, maybe this summer or this fall, I'm not super sure yet, but I'm gonna be releasing a full electronic album. Still figuring out. I still need to finish that up, but I'm getting pretty close. And then
self-publish or no labels.
No labels, all independent.
What are your thoughts on labels now that we have that subject brought? Because me and him had a very interesting conversation about that the other day.
So I have a lot of friends who like used to be signed to these major labels, and like for the first album or like single, fantastic. They get it out there, they get their name shown. But then once they want to release another thing, all of a sudden they're owned by the labels and they got no control.
And they're in debt, right?
Their image is completely dead because they're completely owned and they can't. Yeah. I like to have full control over what I create, and I think it's fun because then I can also do different genres. Do whatever I want. That's always fun.
And I think given your background and the years of experience that you have, which is not always the norm with a lot of these guys that are that are building onto something within a couple of years, you have this massive background that can probably serve you much more well just to make more educated decisions, and then probably have some pull and leeway if you ever do end up negotiating with partners or labels or that kind of thing. But yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
I don't blame you for being wary. I still haven't made a cent to this day. I've had probably like 8 or 9 releases myself. Well, lastly, this one's about a synthesizer.
Yes.
What qualities are you looking for in a synthesizer? Are you looking for a synthesizer that's more of a takes the lead and pays for dinner, or do you want do you want a synthesizer that's more traditional and lets you pay for dinner? I'm just kidding.
Honestly, like a mix of both. I feel like, because I mean, like I said earlier, I like when a synth that almost has its own personality or like iconic sound. Because like you listen to like a Roland like 303 or whatever, you know exactly what it is.
Good point. Good point. You want a synth with soul, with something
like,
tangible.
I don't really like synths where it's like they replicate a synth that already exists. You know what I mean? It's like I want something that's like it's very original, like it's meant for that exact purpose, and nothing else is gonna mess with it.
I can think of one company that's been doing that a lot lately.
Woo! I think page here.
The Pyramid of Evil.
They start with a B.
Yes, and they end with a
Yes.
Well, this was awesome. I'm pretty sure we could just burn up the rest of the show shooting the shit, but we should keep it moving along. What's the full name of the YouTube channel? Eli, Zoe, and Ariel, or Eli, Ariel, and Zoe?
Ariel, Zoe, and Eli. So that we're mainly on Facebook and Instagram. We do have a YouTube. We're kind of inactive on there, but
are they bigger or younger sisters?
They're the older sisters. They're a couple years older. They're twin sisters. They're 22, I believe.
Oh,
I think that's right. Yeah. About to be 20. So
awesome, dude. For those of you who aren't familiar, go check out that YouTube channel. They're phenomenal singers.
Check it out.
It's the genres of music contained are all over the place. I don't even know where to begin. So, but I just want to thank you again for joining us for this live stream, and we'd love to have you again. Keep making some dope drops. You know what? I don't know what the kids say these days.
Yeah, I'm making some really chill cobalt music too to sort of counteract the super intense argon music. So we'll have some good.
That would be lovely. I think there's a lot of people out there that are actually buying cobalts for that kind of thing. The ambient drones and the down tempo stuff, and the more mellow side of things.
We'll go crazy on the cobalt and calm on the argon. A little mix.
A little bit of bipolar. Hot and cold. All right, cool, man. Well, it's been a pleasure. Everybody, Eli, thanks you again.
Thanks so much, y'all.
See you later. I'm going to sign off here so we don't any feedback.
Oh, yeah.
All right, take care, bud.
Bye.
Yep. Okay, well, that was awesome. Let's move on to the second part of the live stream. Let's see where we're at for time. Perfect, 12:34. I'm going to launch Logic Pro, and I need to switch control from Mixer to DAW. So for those of you who might just be getting into, might be getting into audio production, you need to switch your sound card or your interface over to DAW mode, where basically you're disabling live mixing. And because otherwise your hardware synths, when you're tracking them in your DAW, are going to double. They're going to be live feed and there's going to be a digital feed inside. So I'm switching over to DAW, and you should be able to hear me just fine now. Yep. It all went to plan. Okay, so let's see here. Let me just play you what I got here. This is sort of a demonstration of a couple of different things you can do with the Pluck, and it's not necessarily geared towards deadmau5 or Eric Prydz, but more rather songwriting. So. couple of things I want to show you. Velocity and variation, right? Making a good grooving chord progression with plucks. I mean, that's kind of the advantage of plucks. With plucks, you're kind of using them as drums, as kind of rhythm bed enforcement, and as well as chord progression structure, right? And if you have just static notes, all the same velocity, you're not really doing as much justice as you could be doing. You don't want to go nuts and make it like completely all over the place. But for example, you can have melodies kind of hidden in these by adding velocity to the notes you want it to be heard. Now, I didn't actually do that here. I did this right before the stream started. But in theory, if you wanted certain notes to be da 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 da, and they were all eighth notes, you could have those more accentuated notes pop out of the mix. And you're going to do that by transition, creating a mod routing for velocity. And you do that by going here and clicking on velocity, and then you'll either choose cutoff or you'll choose FEG depth, right? Let's see if that, you know what, I need to do it for the other one. Yeah, it's for the Cobalt 8M, I believe. All right, so we're going to initialize. Actually, you know what? I have it set here, velocity and depth, right? I just didn't want to clutter everything with a bunch of other assignments. So let's just start from scratch again. Show you how easy it is to build this from scratch. Initialize. So just watch as I go. Try to follow along. This is like, I'm going to try and build a pluck in under 30 seconds. Kind of neat. Another thing I wanted to point out is the effects on the plucks can make a big difference, and they don't actually have to serve as effects as you traditionally see them. For example, I have ping pong delay right now on the third FX3, right? I got 1/8 dotted notes and roughly about 50 something FX level at 100, so we're getting about 50-50 mix. Or you can do it this way. You can put this one at 50 and this one at 100. Same effects. A lot of times, and I myself am guilty for overlooking this. A lot of people overlook this little feature right here, width reduction, right? So when I tap a note here. Oops, I must be queuing in drums here. Let's fix that real quick. Yep, sure enough. There we go. When I'm tapping it, you're going to hear it jumping from left to right, just like any ping pong delay, right? Even more prevalent when you go to like something like quarter notes. Well, you know what? This is a bad example to show you on because this in particular, it's a long story, but I have these going in my mixer and they're both center panned, so they're not actually individually assigned to left and right. So let's switch this up. Hold on. Let's go with Cobalt 8X instead. Sorry about that. No worries though. Hey, we're on init. We'll just fix that up again. Yeah, we're almost there anyways. Okay. Ping pong delay amount. Okay, now you can hear a much more drastic example here. If you have stereo going out, unless you're watching on your phone, in which case, I'm sorry. Now, I have this in a rhythmic fashion, and we're going to have to switch the riff here, or we're going to have to bring these riffs down here. There we go. There we go. Sounds a little discombobulated, right? Well, I guess the point I'm getting at is if you push the width reduction to max and everything, all the width disappears and it almost becomes a polyrhythm in and of itself, just depending on how well you adjust things. So yeah, it's a neat little thing I do more often now, where I have the width completely eliminated, so it almost sounds like little versions of the notes I'm playing, scattered off on other notes. And since you have it synced up, it actually sounds quite neat, like there's a bunch of just little fingers playing along with you. And if you still want to add effects, you can always just add them afterwards in your DAW. Let's see, the other thing I want to show you is the next part of the tune, which is the ability to build and kind of build on your ideas and hold down notes, and then kind of filter sweep and create kind of stylized plucks and pads, kind of half and half. I'm going to have to go back to the original preset though. What do we got here? Right, that bass part does not belong. There we go. So that's what kind of stuff I'm talking about. I could do a pass through and just record automation right there, and it's gonna save it. To make that happen, just make sure you go to your settings and you don't have any of these disabled. Program you can have disabled, clock you can have disabled, no biggie, right? Just make sure you don't have like sysx and cc disabled. Otherwise, it's not going to be recording a darn thing. But I'm going to hit record, and it should record the automation just fine. Let's do another round here. Let's record some stylized automation on this one, shall we? Awesome sauce. What happened to all of our notes, though? Oh well. Well, you see how that's done. I'm a little ahead of schedule here. The the next part I wanted to show you is how you can transition or kind of transfer your knowledge of plucks into other types of presets and other uses. So I was going to use the argon for that actually. Here we have a part that's kind of backing up or kind of arpeggiating along in the background. It's not an arpeggio, but it's doing rhythmic stuff, and it's got a synced delay on it. That's oopsies. That's the that is the bass. That is the last thing I was going to show you. There we go. Let's get a loop going on for that part. I forgot to set a loop. There we go. And we'll have a beat in the background. Maybe I should solo my voice too. Oops. And there we go. Realize how hard it is to narrate with that pounding beat in the background. For this, the one thing I tend to do when I'm making something that's supposed to be rhythmic in the background is I just shorten the decay. And there's tons of stuff you can do stylistically to kind of mess with things. This is a very complex preset, but it doesn't have to be complex to be effective. So let's do what we did before. Let's make it initialized here. And I'm going to kill the beat just for now. Or maybe let's just turn it down. There, that's better. One thing I love to do with the argon is, oopsies, wrong one. Free running LFO controls ever so slightly the wavetables. So there you have the regular shape for the pluck, right? What if we wanted to have it really, really sharp sounding, right? That kind of kills it if we get the decay that short. So what do? We boost up the sustain. Let me get some effects in there just for ear candy. Starting to like it already. Well, let's stop for a second here. What have we just created? That kind of sounds like keys to me, doesn't it? I think it does, at least. Why I'm not able to actually play them is a little bit puzzling, but I'm on the wrong one. There we go. There we go. So with this pluck shape, with the knowledge we have with plucks, we can create something entirely new out of just a similar kind of setup. I mean, I showed you one little modulation trick over here, right? But otherwise, this is still sort of a pluck. It's got a tail. It's got the quick decay. really for the keys, I'm just boosting up sustain, and then I got a really sharp decay, and it's kind of, they're more like keys. Whoops, I gotta solo it again, sorry. Solo and solo. There we go. Another thing you could do is use that same shape for your pluck and use it on the modulation envelope. So why don't we do that? Let's make the snap envelope. I forgot to mention that earlier, but the snap envelope really brings out the punch. You can already hear a difference right there. It lets more decay through, but also pulls it back down just as quickly. If I had to describe the shape of snap, it would look a little bit closer to an R. Obviously, it wouldn't go back on itself, but it adds a little bit more fatness up top, right? Same thing with this. So at this point, with a quick decay, we just get a fraction of the mix of the right oscillator, right, or the oscillator number 2. So really, at this point, I'm just picking what I want what kind of style transient or hit I want, and that'll determine kind of the overall character of the key or the key pluck hybrid that we're making. We have something like this. Sounds like almost like a mallet, like a wood block, or what do you call it? I forgot the name of that. Kalimba? Is that right? No, maybe. And let's apply that same shape to the actual wavetable. And not as effective. We could try doing that with phase mod. Or oscillator mod, rather. All sorts of fun to be had. Let's make it a long release. Okay, well, that was a crude example of how you can change a pluck into keys, and the more obvious example would be changing a pluck into bass, because bass is essentially a monophonic pluck. So I'm going to switch over to the one I built here. Oh, where is it? I got to get out of solo. And I actually built this bass on a preset from the digital, I believe this is on the digital Obsession sound pack for the Argon. I altered it slightly, as you can see. It's just all saw waves, and I didn't even, I didn't assign anything for those. But you can see the same shape, right? Right there. And I'll play you the bass line I made. Forgot I have that being sent to external effects. You can hear a little bit of the background too. On the Argon, you of course have distortion at your disposal, so you can really beef up a bass, or a pluck really for that matter. And you don't necessarily have to do it manually. You can actually send it with send it. You can send it with LFO1. I'm not sure if you can send it with the yes, you can. You can send it with a mod envelope, so that's another cool thing. Oops, wrong one. Well, we're approaching the end of our stream here. The last thing I wanted to show you, or the last thing I was gonna kind of tell you, was in production for anything electronic these days, everything is heavily processed. So one thing you could do to fatten things up even further is, I already showed you the curve or the kind of envelope shape for the Pluck. You could try adding something very similar, as long as you don't go kill the sustain. You can do this sort of shape on any Pluck, right? And then throw it into a compressor and get that threshold down to a point where, on the meter, it's, well, I suppose it's a little easier demonstrated, but do I have a compressor actually in here is the question. And I don't want to dig too long. No, I don't currently. But the idea is you bring the threshold below, what the level is it's hitting at, and this is going to get very much exaggerated by that compressor, which is going to increase the pluck and the punch even that much more so, especially if you have it on snap. So yeah, I think that's all the tips I got for you at the moment. We are approaching the end of our live stream, and I think I'm going to need to switch over and find out who the giveaway winner is. But currently it doesn't look like I have anybody reported at the moment. So why don't we jump over and check out the Baltica sound set from Sound Salsa, and then I'll see if Christian can, my executive producer, I'll see if he can draw the name here for our winner of the video / what is it called? The ask.video subscription giveaway. All right. Without further ado, here's the trailer and kind of preview video for the Baltica sound set from Sound Salsa. Oh, I just found out the winner of the giveaway for the Ask That Video subscription is Chris, Kris. Congratulations, Chris. Send an email over to marketing@modalelectronics.com, and we will get you all situated. Also, I wanted to mention one more thing. There's going to be a live stream from our primary distributor, VCO or Voltage and Company. And that is going to be held, I believe, next. Oh man, where did it go? There we go. It is. No, it doesn't say when. You know what? I have the link here somewhere. Wait one. It is down here, right there. Yeah. Or the Take Me Home giveaway. It's you can basically win a Cobalt 8. So definitely check this live stream out, and we will have more. We will have the exact time posted coming up here on our Facebook page. So be sure to check back for that. That's going to be a lot of fun, and yeah, that's our show. And thank you so much for checking it out. If you haven't already, be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check us out on Facebook. We have a monthly newsletter we send out, and you can get that over at modalelectronics.com. And until next time, you guys keep on playing, and thanks for attending the live stream. All right, see you around.